You know what's crazy? Right now, while you're watching this video, someone just bought a used dresser for $40 and sold it 3 days later for $180. They didn't refurbish it. They didn't paint it. They literally just knew what to look for. And here's the thing that actually keeps me up at night. You probably scrolled past that exact same dresser last week thinking it was junk. My name is Oric, and I spend way too much time thinking about why people work 40 hours a week for money but won't spend 4 hours a week making money work for them. If you're someone who's tired of hearing just save more when you're already cutting back on everything, or you've got $100 sitting in your account doing absolutely nothing while inflation eats away at it, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Look, I need to be honest with you right up front. When most people hear flipping items, they immediately think you need to be some kind of expert in antiques or spend your weekends at estate sales wearing a monocle. That's complete nonsense. The real secret? Most profitable flips come from people who simply understand one thing that everyone else misses. And I'm going to show you exactly what that is. Here's what most people don't realize about Facebook Marketplace. There are roughly 1.2 billion people using it every single month. And according to Facebook's own data, 1 in 3 users is actively looking to buy something right now. But here's where it gets really interesting. The average seller on Marketplace has absolutely no idea how to price their items. A study from the Resale Report found that 68% of people pricing used items online just guess. They literally make up a number based on what feels right. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Oric, but I don't know how to price things either. Perfect. That's exactly the point. You don't need to know how to price things. You need to know how to recognize when someone else has priced something wrong. Let me show you the math on this, because the math is actually insane. Let's say you start with $100. You find a solid wood coffee table listed for $45. The person selling it just moved into a smaller apartment and needs it gone by the weekend. You know, because you did 30 seconds of research, that this style of coffee table sells for $120 to $150 in your area. You buy it for $40. You clean it with a $3 bottle of wood cleaner. You take better photos than the original seller. You list it for $130 and sell it within 4 days for $115. You just turned $45 into $115. That's a $70 profit minus the $3 for cleaner. You've now got $167 in your pocket in less than a week without any special skills. But here's the thing. Most people stop there. They think, cool, I made $70, and then they go spend it. This is where the psychology becomes more important than the math. Because if you take that $167 and do it again, and then again, you're not just making money, you're compounding it. Let me break down what happens over 10 flips, assuming you're averaging just a 60% return on each flip, which is actually conservative for Marketplace if you know what you're doing. Starting with $100, after flip 1, you've got $106. After flip 2, you've got $256. By flip 5, you're at $650. By flip 10, you're sitting at $1,746. You turned $100 into over $1,700 in the time it takes most people to finish a Netflix series. Now look, I can already hear some of you saying, but Oric, where do I even find these deals? This is where everyone gets it backwards. They think the hard part is finding underpriced items. The hard part is actually knowing what to look for in the first place. Here's what changed everything for me, and this is going to sound almost too simple. You don't need to know about everything. You need to know about 3 things. Really well, that's it. 3 categories of items that you understand better than the average person listing them on Marketplace. For some people, it's furniture. For others, it's electronics. Some people absolutely kill it with vintage clothing or kids' toys. The specific category doesn't matter nearly as much as you think. What matters is that you can walk into any thrift store or scroll through Marketplace and instantly recognize when something is priced at 30% of its actual resale value. Let me give you a concrete example. There's a guy I know who only flips one thing: video game consoles. That's it. He knows exactly what every generation of PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo console sells for in working condition. He knows which accessories are valuable. He knows that a PS4 with 2 controllers and 5 games should sell for around $200 in his market, which means if he sees one listed for $90, he's buying it immediately. He does this maybe twice a week. He's made over $8,000 in the last 6 months, working maybe 5 hours a week total. The psychology behind why this works is actually fascinating. When someone lists an item on Marketplace, they're almost never thinking like a seller. They're thinking like someone who wants to get rid of something. And that emotional difference is worth hundreds of dollars per transaction. They're not asking, what's the maximum I can get for this? They're asking, what's a fair price that makes this go away quickly? Here's the thing that frustrates me the most about traditional financial advice. Everyone tells you to start a side hustle, but then they suggest things like start a consulting business or create an online course. Those things require expertise, audience building, months of work before you see a single dollar. Flipping on Marketplace? You can literally make money this weekend. This is where it gets really interesting. Most people think the skill in flipping is negotiation, like you need to be some master haggler who talks people down. That's not it at all. The real skill is speed and volume. When you see a legitimately underpriced item that you know you can flip, you message immediately. Not in 10 minutes, not later that evening, immediately. Because 12 other people saw it too, and the person who gets it is simply the person who showed up first with cash. I tracked this for a month. Items that were genuinely underpriced by 40% or more received an average of 8 messages in the first hour. The person who bought the item? They messaged within the first 12 minutes in 73% of cases. Speed is everything. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but what about storing all this stuff? What if it doesn't sell? Valid concerns. Here's how you actually mitigate that risk. You never, ever buy something unless you already know exactly where and how you're going to sell it. Before you message the seller, you've already checked completed listings. You've already confirmed there's demand. You've already calculated your minimum acceptable profit. And here's a rule that saved me thousands of dollars in mistakes. If you can't flip it within 2 weeks, you bought the wrong thing. Your money should never be sitting in inventory. The whole point is velocity. Buy Monday, clean Tuesday, list Wednesday, sell by the following Monday. Keep the money moving. Let me show you the actual roadmap to get from $100 to $1,000 step by step. Week 1, you're taking your $100 and looking for a single item you can buy for $40, $60 that you absolutely know sells for $120 or $150. This is your research week. You're spending time understanding what actually moves in your local market. You make your first flip, you're now at roughly $160, $180. Week 2, you take $80 and you buy 2 smaller items instead of 1 large one. Maybe it's some vintage kitchen tools for $35 and a barely used small appliance for $45. You flip both. You're now sitting around $280 to $320. Week 3 is where the math starts getting fun. You've now got enough capital to make 3 solid purchases. You're diversifying across different categories. Maybe 1 furniture piece, 1 electronic item, 1 collectible. Each flip is netting you 50 to 70% returns because you're getting better at spotting the deals. You're at $500, $600 now. By week 4, you're moving fast. You've developed a system. You check Marketplace 3 times a day, morning, lunch, evening. You know your categories. You know your profit margins. You're making 4 to 5 purchases a week. And here's what nobody tells you. The more you do this, the easier it gets. You start developing a 6th sense for what's underpriced. Here's the psychological shift that has to happen for this to actually work. You have to stop thinking like a consumer and start thinking like a business. When you see a nice couch for $200, your consumer brain says, "That's a great deal. I should get it for my apartment." Your business brain says, "I can flip that for $400, which means I'm choosing between having a new couch or having $200 in profit." Look, I know some of you are sitting there thinking this sounds like too much work. And honestly, if you think checking Facebook Marketplace for 15 minutes 3 times a day is too much work, you're probably not ready to build wealth anyway. That's harsh, But it's true. The people who actually build wealth from nothing aren't the ones with secret insider knowledge. They're the ones willing to do simple things consistently that everyone else thinks is beneath them. Here's a statistic that genuinely blows my mind. The average American spends 2.5 hours per day on social media, according to Data Reportal. That's 17.5 hours a week. If you took just 4 of those hours and spent them flipping items on Marketplace at even a modest $20 per hour profit rate, you'd make an extra $4,160 per year. But here's the thing. Your profit rate isn't going to stay at $20 per hour. Once you know what you're doing, it's closer to $40, $60 per hour because you're more efficient. The real magic happens when you realize that this isn't just about making an extra $1,000. It's about completely rewiring how you think about value and opportunity. Once you've successfully turned $100 into $1,000 flipping items, you start seeing inefficiencies everywhere. You start understanding arbitrage. You start recognizing information asymmetry. These are the same principles that billionaires use, just at a different scale. Now, let's talk about the actual items that work best for this. Furniture is king for beginners because it's visual, people understand it, and the margins are huge. A solid wood dresser bought for $60 and sold for $180 is a normal Tuesday. Electronics are great if you're comfortable testing them. Just never buy something you can't verify works. Exercise equipment is almost comical how well it flips because people buy it with massive enthusiasm and sell it 3 months later with massive regret. Here's what you need to actually execute, this starting today. First, you need your $100. Not negotiable. If you don't have it, sell 3 things from your own house right now. You definitely have $100 worth of stuff you don't need. Second, you need to pick your 3 categories. Spend 2 hours researching what similar items actually sell for in your area. Screenshot prices, build a mental database. This is your education, and it's free. Third, set up search alerts for your categories. Facebook lets you do this. You'll get notifications when new items in your price range get listed. This is how you move fast. Fourth, have a dedicated space for your flips. A corner of your garage, a closet, whatever. You need somewhere to temporarily store items between buying and selling. Fifth, and this is crucial, take better photos than everyone else. I mean dramatically better. Natural lighting, clean background, multiple angles. The difference between a $100 sale and a $150 sale is often just photo quality. People pay more for things that look valuable in photos. The biggest mistake people make when they start flipping is buying things they personally think are cool instead of things the market actually wants. Your taste doesn't matter. Your opinion doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is what you can prove people are actively buying right now. Here's the truth about turning $100 into $1,000 through flipping. It's not going to happen overnight. It's probably going to take you 6 to 8 weeks if you're consistent. Some flips will take 3 days, some will take 2 weeks. You'll make mistakes. You'll buy something that sits for too long. That's part of learning. But here's what else is true. This is one of the only realistic ways to 10x your money in 2 months that doesn't involve gambling or getting extremely lucky. You're not hoping for returns. You're creating them through knowledge and effort. The people who actually do this aren't smarter than you. They're not luckier than you. They just decided that making an extra $1,000 was worth spending a few hours a week learning a simple skill. That's it. That's the entire secret. So here's what you're going to do after watching this video. You're going to open Facebook Marketplace right now. You're going to search for one item in one category that you know something about. You're going to spend 20 minutes seeing what's listed and what actually sells. And then you're going to start looking for your first flip. Because the difference between people who make extra money and people who don't isn't knowledge. Everyone has access to the same information. The difference is action. You can watch 50 more videos about side hustles, or you can go turn your $100 into $160 this week. The opportunity is there. The market is there. The only question is whether you're going to show up and take it. Make sure to subscribe if you want more content about actually building wealth instead of just talking about it, and I'll see you in the next one.